Hare Krishna Mataji, Dhanvat Pranams.
Hare Krishna. Yeah.
Mataji, you can take over. Mataji, you need multiple presenters to share their screen, or?
No.
So you can take over.
Okay. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं कृष्णचैतन्यमीश्वरम् नमां विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. We are continuing our series of the study of Valmiki Ramayana, and we are currently in the Ayodhya Kanda. And last week we stopped at a point when Dashrath was recounting his past sin. That is where we stopped. So we'll be continuing from there, and we'll proceed and see what happened after that. But before that, we'll have a very quick recap. I'll do prayers, then a quick recap, and then we'll move on to the storyline. Now, कूजन्तं राम रामेति मधुरं मधुराक्षरम् आरुह्य कविताशाखां वन्दे वाल्मीकिकोकिलं वाल्मीकिर्मुनिसिंहस्य कवितावनचारिणः शृण्वन् रामकथानादं को न याति परां गतिं वेदवेद्ये परे पुंसे जाते दशरथात्मजे वेदप्राचीतसादासीत् साक्षात् रामायणात्मना अञ्जनानन्दनं वीरं जानकी शोकनाशनं कपीशम् अक्षहन्तारं वन्दे लङ्काभयङ्करं मनोजवं मारुततुल्यवेगं जितेन्द्रियं बुद्धिमतां वरिष्ठां वातात्मजं वानरयूथमुख्यं श्रीरामदूतं शिरसा नमामि आञ्जनेयमदिपाटनालनं काञ्चनाद्रिकमनीयविग्रहं पारिजाततरु मूलवासिनं भावयामि पवमाननन्दनं यत्र यत्र रघुनाथकीर्तनं तत्र तत्र कृतमस्तकाञ्जलिं बाष्पवारि परिपूर्णलोचनं मारुतिं नमत राक्षसान्तकम् जयत्राशतसन्त्रासध्वान्तविद्वांसनोदयः प्रभावान् सीतया देव्या परमव्योमभास्करः श्रीराम राम रामेति रमे रामे मनोरमे सहस्रनाम तत्तुल्यं श्रीराम नाम वरानने. Hare Krishna. So, a review of Ayodhya Kanda. Ayodhya Kanda begins with a very famous verse, Gachata Matulakulam Bharatena Tatanaga, where Bharata and Shatrughna, they went to their Matulakula. Matulakula means their uncle's house, their mother's brother's house, which is nothing but the kingdom of Kekayadesha. And they stayed there for many years. Meanwhile, Ramchandra was in Ayodhya and he was exhibiting great qualities, and the people started loving him. Looking at all these resplendent qualities, Dashrath Maharaj wanted to crown him, and he announced that to the kingdom, to the people, and everybody was very, very happy. They chose the Chaitra Mas when it was the Pushya Nakshatra to actually crown Lord Ramachandra, Dashrath called Ramachandra, gave him instructions how to be a good leader. And Ramachandra goes and he gets blessings from Mother Kausalya. He enters a fast and he worships his deity of Ranganath. Later, the next day, the decorations begin. But then on the previous day night itself, it so happened that Manthara came and poisoned the mind of Kaikeyi. Initially, Kaikeyi was very, very affectionate, but then eventually she got poisoned by the evil words of Manthara. And after she was poisoned, she went and she laid down in the Kopagraham, which is the house of anger, the palace of anger. So she goes and she lies down there, and then she's waiting for Dasharath to come. And when Dasharath comes, she asks her two boons. She tells, by one boon, Ramachandra should go to the forest and live there for 14 years. And by the other boon, uh, my son Bharat should be crowned. So Dasharath began to lament and he was thinking, oh, what a mistake. And finally, Ram is summoned, and then the message is conveyed by Kaikeyi to Ramachandra saying that your father is hesitating, but then I have to tell you that you have to go to the forest. So he asks for permission for a few minutes so that he can go and speak to Kausalya and Sita. So he goes to Mother Kausalya's palace. He seeks her permission. Of course, she's not ready to let him go, but then eventually she blesses him and lets him go. Lakshmana explodes, and then after he tries to convince Lakshmana, then he goes to Sita's palace. He asks he asks Sita that if he could go to the forest without her, but then Sita refuses. She says, no, if you have been banished to the forest, I will also follow you. There is no question of me living without you. So she convinces Lord Ramachandra and she says, I will come with you. And Rama accepts. And at that time, when both of them are together, Lakshmana comes. Ghadhyam Nipidya Raghunandana. He goes and he holds on to the lotus feet of Lord Ramachandra in the presence of Sita and he asks for service. Aham sarvam karishyami jagrata swapadachate. So he says these beautiful words and immediately his service is accepted and Rama, Sita and Lakshmana, they proceed on to the forest. And before going to the forest, there is some dhan that is done traditionally. So there is the dhan given to Trijata and so many other people. And then they are asked to wear bark actually. Ramachandra and Lakshmana, they wear bark, and even Sita tries to wear on bark. But it was very difficult for her, and Ramachandra tried to help her wear it. And this was heartbreaking for everybody. And then finally, Dasharath, um, he just says it's not possible. She should not be going with bark. She has to be given all respect, all the saris, jewels, everything should be sent with her. So, like the Sita also proceeds along with Lord Ramachandra. Meanwhile, Lakshmana, he goes and he seeks permission from his mother, Sumitra. She's a very great character in the Ramayana, and she says, Ramam Dhasharatham Vidhi, Mam Vidhi Janakatmajam, Ayodhya Matavim Vidhi, Gachatatat Yata Sukham. She blesses her son and she tells her son, know Rama to be Dasharath. Look upon Mother Sita, the daughter of Janaka, as myself, and consider the forest Ayodhya consider the forest as Ayodhya and depart happily. She tells him to go happy. Gachatata yatha sukham. So like that, she blesses her son and they proceed. Ayodhya becomes desolate. Dasharath cries. Kausalya laments while Sumitra consoles Kausalya in various ways. And the people, they begin to follow Lord Ramachandra. And eventually, Rama decides that the people should not be suffering like this. While the citizens were fast asleep, Ramachandra, he asked Sumantra to drive the chariot away, like as if it is going to Ayodhya. And then eventually, they detour and they go to the forest, cheating the people, the citizens who are sleeping. The citizens wake up and they realize their grave mistake. Then Lord Ramachandra, he proceeds and he goes to Shringiverapuram, where his dear friend, old-time friend, Guha is there. Tatra Raja Guho Nama Ramasya Atma Samasakha. Very, very close friend of Rama. was like his own heart, his own self. Nishada Jati, he belongs to Nishada Jati. Bhalavan Stapatihi Cha Yati Vishruta. So he's a very, very great person who was very strong, who had a big set of followers, and he was a Nishadaraj. So this Nishadaraj Guha, he took care of Lord Ramchandra, Sita Devi, and Lakshman. And this hospitality goes on, and then Lord Ramachandra, he asks Sumantra to return, and then he actually puts lac. Is that, yeah, not lac, sorry, it's called latex on his hair. They ensure that their hair is set for the forest stay, and then they cross in the boat. And Rama, he also that day night, after they cross over and go to the other side, when they enter the forest, that day night, Ramchandra, he actually requests Lakshman if Lakshman should actually go back to Ayodhya to take care of the mothers. But then Lakshmana refuses, and then Ramachandra accepts. And they move on to Bharadwaja's hermitage. They go to Chitrakuta Parvat, and Chitrakuta Parvat is a very, very beautiful place, and they build a leaf hut there, and they continue to stay. Meanwhile, Sumantra returns to the palace, and Sumantra relays the messages of Rama and Lakshmana, and also Sita. And Rama and Sita have Sita is just choked up. Ramachandra has very nice, sweet messages while Lakshmana is exploding and angry and he's scolding his father. The entire city of Ayodhya appeared to be desolated, and Kausalya was blaming Dasharath for whatever had happened. At that time, Dasharath Maharaj, he began to recount his sin. So this is where we stopped in our previous class, and we are continuing from here. Dasharath Maharaj, he told his dear wife Kausalya, my dear Kausalya, long time back, when I was very young, I had taken the bow and arrow, and as a young haughty prince, I went into the forest for hunting. And while using different arrows, I once employed the Shabdavedi Bhan, that is the arrow that goes and attacks the source of the sound that is produced. So he heard apparently the sound of an elephant drinking water, and he wanted to use the Bhan on the animal. So he released the Shabdavedi Bhan, and it went and it actually hit a human instead of hitting an animal. So when he heard the cry of a human being, he went running towards that place, and he saw that there was a young boy. A young boy was struck by the arrow of Dasharath. And when Dashrath Maharaj saw this young boy, the boy said, "Oh king, what did you do? I am an ordinary ascetic boy. What kind of harm can I do to you? What is wrong in what I was doing? I was just fetching some water for my dear parents. How come this arrow has come and hit me? If my mother and father know that I have died because of this arrow, it will be a cause of great agony in their hearts. How will my parents live after my death? I'm so distressed with this action of yours." So he says that, and he falls down to the ground. And he explains that his parents, both of them, they were blind. And in fact, there is a mention that the father was also lame. They were not able to walk. And this boy, he says that they are so weak and they had asked me for water. So, one thing that you can do for me now is to take this water and go and give it to them. So, he says, "My parents will now be like birds without wings in my absence. So please go and at least give them this water and tell them that their son is no more." And Dasharath, he was completely shocked. He tried to take off the arrow from the boy's body, and when he tried to take it off, the boy actually died. Then he took that pot of water with shivering hands, and he went to the place where the parents of this boy were. And he saw these old ascetic persons who were actually blind, and they were sitting and they were waiting for their son. The man, the minute he heard some footsteps, and the lady, both of them, they said, "Oh, my dear child, you're back. Why did you take so long? Where did you go? Come, get us water and stay with us. Why did you go away for so long?" But then Dashrath Maharaj, he couldn't speak anything because these two parents were thinking that it is their son. But unfortunately, it was not their son, it was Dasharath. But with faltering voice, he broke the news that he had killed their son. And he explained to them, "Actually, I'm not your son, I'm a king. It so happened that I heard the sound of a pitcher being filled with water, and I mistook that sound to that of an elephant drinking water. So I released the arrow, and the arrow went and hit your son, and now your son proceeded to heaven." So he says this horrible news, and the parents were completely shocked. Mhm. The parents were completely shocked, and the first thing the father said is that, "If you had hidden this fact from me, if you had run away, if you had not told me about this shameful deed by yourself, then your head would have burst into 100,000 pieces." So the father was at least grateful that he had the thought of coming and revealing the fact that he was the killer of his son. So he says that you are surviving just because you came and told me this mistake. And he told the king Dasharath that, "Now you take me to the place where my son is lying dead." And then Dashrath Maharaj, he takes both the father and mother of this boy to the place where the boy was lying dead, who was Shravan. His name is Shravan Kumar. So they go there, and the parents, they try to touch the body of the child. And when they are touching the body of the child, they are so overwhelmed with so much pain that they actually curse Dashrath Maharaj. They curse Dashrath Maharaj, saying, "You will also," actually, they give up their body they say they will give up their body very soon, because the lamentation that they are feeling in separation from their son was unexplainable. So they said, "We are soon going to give up our lives, but we curse you at the same time that this sin will not leave you. You will also die at a point when you are in terrible separation from your son." So, like this, they pronounce a curse, and Dasharath Maharaj now tells Kausalya, while he's sitting in Kausalya's palace, that, "I believe that that time has come now. I had performed a great sin, I had received a curse, and now I can feel the agony, the pain of separation from my son. So I understand that now the time has come for me to depart this world." So he tells, "My dear Kausalya, just like how a disease comes after eating some nice rice and dal mixed with an unpalatable vegetable, immediately the disease won't come. After some time, the disease symptoms start showing up. Similarly, that is what has happened to me. I had done the sin in the past, but now, over a period of time, I can see the result of the sinful act that I had done a long time ago." And he says, "I'm feeling that anxious separation, so this is going to be the cause of my death." And he screams out, "Oh Rama, oh Lakshmana." He screams out their names. Especially he screams out the name of Ramachandra. He says, "You're the darling of your father. You are my protector. You are my son. Where did you go?" So like that, he shouts out the name of Rama. And then he tells, "O Kausalya, O Sumitra, a cruel Kaikeyi, you have become my enemy. You are a disgrace to the family. Now I'm going to die." So he kept calling out for Ram, and in this way, Dasharath Maharaj was weeping and weeping, and eventually, actually, he dies in his sleep. While he's lying down like that, he's continuously calling out to Ram, and he lost his consciousness and he died. Early next day morning, they didn't realize he was dead. They just thought he was probably unconscious at that point in time because of anxious separation from his son. So the wives didn't realize that the husband was dead. But then early next morning, when the bards came to wake up the king, there was absolutely no response. There was no eye movement. And then some women were called on who were expert physicians. So they went nearby to the bed and they tried to see if there was some sense of life in Dasharath's body. But then they could understand that there were zero life signs. And these ladies also, they cried out in agony and they called for Sumitra and Kausalya. And Sumitra and Kausalya, who were in a deep slumber, they regained consciousness and they went running. And immediately everybody could understand the condition of their husband. So they all cried and fell to the ground. And the cries filled the room. And soon everybody could hear these cries, and lots of people started gathering. And they could understand that this great king, Dashrath Maharaj, who had lived for over 60,000 years, has now passed on. So all the wives, the 350 plus 50 wives, they all came and they were weeping very, very sorrowfully. And they were holding each other's hands like orphans, and they were circling around Dasharath and they were crying. Kausalya, she held the king's head on her lap. Her eyes was full of tears, and she told, "Hey, Kaikeyi, you have performed such an evil task. You have finally fulfilled all your desires. You are the reason of your husband's death. Now you can enjoy the kingdom. You don't have to be disturbed by any hindrance." So, like that, she says, actually, I had only two important people in my life. One was Rama, the other was my husband. Rama left me and he went to the forest. Now my husband has also gone to heaven. Why should I live? I am just like a lady who's left alone in a caravan in a very dangerous road. That is my condition. So, like that, she laments in various ways and she thinks about her son and her daughter in law who are suffering in the forest. And she tells Kaikeyi, "Why did you listen to Manthara? You've created such a big havoc in everybody's life." And the ministers, they were seeing that all the wives were beating their chest and lamenting. So the ministers went and assigned a job to some people to ensure that the body was preserved. At this point in time, Dasharath, yes, he had four sons. But after a great endeavor, he had four sons. It was not easy for him to have sons. After 60,000 years, actually, he had four sons. But at this time, when he was passing away, not a single son was present with him. And all the relatives who had come there were also accusing Kaikeyi for the death of Dasharath. And the men came, they picked up the body and they preserved it in a vat of oil or in a vessel of oil, like a big case of oil. And the night had come. It was during sunrise that they realized Dashrath had passed away. The next day, night had also come, and everybody was still lamenting. And at that time, some of the Brahmanas, they came to the ministers and they told them, "Look, the kingdom cannot be without a king. It's already one day past. We cannot have a kingdom without a king. If there is no king in this world, then there will be no discrimination between good and evil. All kinds of dark forces will become active. So this is not a very good condition." Even in Srimad Bhagavatam, we see after the death of King Vena, immediately they wanted to have a king. A king had to be enthroned because a country without a king will only encourage the wrongdoers to become more and more strong. So it was very important to have the right king enthroned immediately. So they all went and requested Vasishta, "Vasishta, I think you should choose one of the four children of Dasharath Maharaj to become the next king. And we cannot leave this kingdom to anarchy." So at that time, Vasishta said, "See, what is there for me to decide? You said one of the four princes. It is not one of the four princes. The decision has already been taken by Dasharath. It is going to be Bharata. Bharata has to come back. So we have to make arrangements for Bharat and Shatrughna who have gone to their uncle's house to come back as soon as possible. So he said, let instructions be sent to messengers who have great horses. Let them be sent on the horses to go and bring back these two brothers who are staying in their uncle's house. So immediately messengers were summoned. They had gathered a troop of soldiers with horses, and they were sent with a message so that they could go and bring back Bharata. But then they were also told not to reveal too much there. So the messengers were clearly instructed that they should just go and bring Shatrughna and Bharata back. If they were asked any questions, they should just say, all is well. There is an important work that is pending, and Vasishta wants you to come to complete the work. That is the only message that you should be given. You should not go and tell about the death of Dasharath. So this is the instruction left with the messengers, and the messengers, they proceeded. The route taken by the messengers is mentioned here. And later when Bharat returns, the route taken by Bharat will be slightly different. Okay, so this was the shortest route that is possible between this Ayodhya to Kekaya. Now, if someone asks where is Kekaya, according to some research and other route proof and other things, it is assumed or it is concluded that Kekaya Desh, like most of you must have guessed, is around the area of Pakistan, today's Pakistan. The city is still known by the same name, Giri Vraja. It is called as something close to Giri Vraja. Today, slight change in the way it is called, but it is the same place to this day. And the route taken by them as they crossed Malini River, they went to Aparatala, Pralamba Mountain, they crossed Ganga, they went through Hastinapur, and then they reached the Panchala kingdom, the Kurujangala kingdoms, and then they went to the Kulinga province, and they crossed the Ikshumati River, which was flowing from mountains. And then they proceeded to the Balika kingdom, and then the Sudhama mountains where there is Vishnupada, and they went to Vipasa river, and finally they entered the city of Giripracha. This is in Jalalpur, Pakistan today. So they go there, and the messengers, they reach that city by night. Now, however, just on the night when Dasharath passed away as well, Bharata, he had some terrible, terrible dreams. Okay, not on the night when he passed away, but just one night before. These people, they arrived in the night, right? They arrived this city in the night. On the same night, Bharata also had some terrible dreams. So, what was the dreams that Bharata had? So, Bharata, that day morning, he had woken up with deep anguish because he was disturbed from early morning, because that day night he had a dream. So, when he woke up that day morning, he looked very, very disturbed. And many people came because he was the prince, right? So, many people came to say hello to him in the morning, and they like to entertain these princes. So they came and they were playing music and dramas and jokes. All this was assembled for their, all this was arranged for their entertainment. Just like when kids go to their grandparents' house, right? There is this entire schedule is planned. Okay, today we are going to watch this movie. Today we are going to do, maybe we're going to go and play out. Some morning is probably doing a little puja, and then everybody goes out, play. They do so many activities. Of course, in those days, there was no mobile phones and TV and computer and all that. So they had to entertain each other with live people, live performances. So the friends of Bharat who were there, they saw that Bharata was not in the best of spirits. So to cheer him up, they had arranged for some nice musical performances, dramas, and lots of people who come and tell jokes. So all this was arranged. But nothing could cheer up Bharata. From morning, he was very morose. And one of his friend came and asked him, "What's wrong with you? Why are you like this? I've never seen you so morose. What's happening? Nothing is able to cheer you up." So at that time, Bharat says, "Actually, I've seen a dream. In that dream, I saw my father was having a soiled body. His hair was disheveled, and he was falling from the top of a mountain into a polluted pond that was filled with cow dung. And he was drinking oil and he was laughing again and again. And I also saw that an entire ocean dried up. The moon was falling on the ground. The earth was covered with darkness. I also saw my father wearing black clothes. He was sitting on a throne made of iron, and a woman with a black and reddish brown complexion was laughing at the king. So I somehow feel somebody is going to die. I feel maybe the king will die, or maybe somebody in Ayodhya, like Lakshmana, or somebody else may die. So mainly he was focusing on his father because he saw his father drinking oil in the dream. So these are all omens, these are all nimittas for death. Okay. So he saw all these different omens. And he says, even if at all in a dream, a man sees a person yoked with donkeys in a chariot, and he is moving in a chariot yoked with donkeys, then it is an omen that that person will soon be dead. So Bharata saw all these different images in his dream. And while he was narrating his dream that day morning to his dear friend, at that time, the messengers who finally had entered this Girivraja or Rajgira, they came there and they announced their arrival to the KKR Prince Yudhajit. And Yudhajit immediately welcomed them, understanding that they are coming from the place of Ayodhya, and they offered them great hospitality. Then finally, they got audience with the father of Kaikeyi, and that is when these messengers, they said that Vasishta, who's the family priest of Ayodhya, asks for your welfare, and it appears that there is an urgent work that is pending and it has to be completed by Bharata and Shatrughna. So please send Bharata and Shatrughna with us. This is the message that we have for you. And when the message was read to them, Bharata was summoned, and Bharata also heard the message. And the first question he asked is, I hope my father, the King Dasharath, is quite safe. And I hope Rama and Lakshmana are also doing well. I hope Kausalya and the Dharmagnya Sumitra is also doing well. So these are the first questions that he asks the messengers. And then after he asks about Dasharath, he asks about Rama, he asks about Lakshman, Kausalya, and Sumitra. He asks about his mother. But how does he ask about his mother? He says, Atmakama sada chandi krodna pragnya manini aroga cha api kaikeyi mata me kim muvachaha. He asks, oh, that Kaikeyi who loves herself, Atmakama, she is very fond of herself. Sada Chandi, she is always fighting, always hot-headed, wrathful. Krodana, Pragnamanini, she thinks herself to be very, very great and very intelligent. That mother of mine. Kaikeyi Mata me Kim Uvachaha. Did she say anything? This is what he asks. So, there is a commentary or there's an explanation saying that he was concerned that something happened, that Kaikeyi said something and something bad has happened in the town. Okay. So, like that, he asks. And then when he asks about all these people and he also speaks about his mother, at that time, the messengers, as instructed by Vasishta, they all say that well, the people that you are asking about, everybody is doing well, but then there is a great fortune that is awaiting you. We ask you to come immediately with us. This is the only answer that they give. So they are not ready to divulge that Dasharath was dead. But then Bharata, he goes forward and he seeks permission from his father. All the while in his heart, there was something that was bothering him. He didn't feel that everything was right. So he immediately goes and asks Ashwapati that he wants to proceed and he wants to go and see his father. And he tells, I will go and stay with my father for some time. And in the future, if you call me again, I will surely come. So he says that, and Raja, he gives his blessings and he sends different gifts along with Bharata. So they proceed in the eastern direction from the city of Rajgira, and there they go through different places like the Sudhama River, the Hladini River, and so on. And finally, they cross through several villages like the Eladhana village, Aparajita. So many places are mentioned, so many mountains, so many rivers. So he crosses through all these places, but also he crosses through some places that were the same when the messengers had come. So the exact route taken by Bharata is slightly different than the route that was taken by the messengers. So Bharata took a longer route, he covered more places, and he also had some overlapping places that were covered by the messengers. And finally, he reaches Ayodhya in a period of 8 days. It takes almost double the time of the messengers who actually went to see him. So finally, Bharata, he comes, and as he's entering Ayodhya, he was feeling very, very perplexed. He didn't understand why Ayodhya was looking so dull and deserted. He had very fond memories of Ayodhya, that Ayodhya was a very beautiful land and people were very lively and they were happy. He entered through the Vaijayanta gate, that is the exact place of his entry, and he heard the slogans of victory of the gatekeepers when he was entering. But he could see, okay, they are all, cheering him and people are welcoming him, but nobody seemed to be happy. The entire city, that was like the city of Ayodhya, was now completely deserted. It was covered with rust. Everybody appeared to be very, very grievous. Everybody was filled with unhappiness and they were grieving all the time. And he was thoroughly confused and he was asking the charioteers, what's wrong? Why is Ayodhya not looking the same? Is there any problem? The houses don't look happy, the people don't look happy, even the merchants also, the ingredients that is brought into the market was also not looking good. What is really happening in Ayodhya? But there is no answer. And finally, he gets off his chariot and he goes to his father's palace first. He goes to his father's palace and he's not able to find his father in the palace. So he's again confused and he proceeds and he goes to his mother's palace. And when he goes to his mother's palace, there he sees Kaikeyi. She immediately rose up from her throne or her seat and she went running towards the son and she embraced her son Bharata. Bharata paid obeisances to his mother and Kaikeyi lifted him and she smells his head and she started inquiring about his travel. So she said, oh, my dear son, how's your grandfather doing? How's your uncle doing? Were you very happy there? Did they take very good care of you? Tell me everything about your stay. How did these few years go? And tell me about the well-being of all my family members and so on. So Bharata, he was like very quick and saying, yeah, everybody is good and a lot of gifts have been sent by Udajit and Ashwapati. And he also mentions the list of gifts and he says all this has been sent to you. But then I still have a question. Since the minute I came into Ayodhya, everything looks very morose. Nothing is happy. Ayodhya was not like this before. What happened to Ayodhya? And I first wanted to go and take darshan of my father, and there is nobody in my father's palace. So I thought, okay, maybe father always stays with you. He will be here. But here also, I don't see father. So what really is happening? I really want to see him. Is he okay? Tell me where he is. So this is the first question Bharat asks. And at that time, Kaikeyi, she gives this answer. There are two ways of seeing this answer. Some people comment saying, I mean, some commentaries say that it was more of a frivolous answer. The verse I will read, and then I will tell you two opinions. First, the verse is या गति सर्वभूतानां तां गतिं ते पिता गतः राजा महात्मा तेजस्वी यया जुक Satam Gati. So she says, Yagati Sarvabhutanam, the place where all living entities one day have to go. Tam Gatim Te Pitagata. Your father also went there. Hmm? Raja Mahatmana Tejasvi Yayajuk Satam Gatihi. Because he was a great king, he was a Sat, he was Sant, meaning he was very pious, he was a great king, and he would perform great yajnas. He has gone to the heavenly abode. That's what she's telling. But it can be interpreted in two ways, the statement. One is, it is a very frivolous way of telling, oh, one day everybody has to go to one place, right? Your father also went there. It's like that, in that connotation. The other way of understanding it is, she said, one day everybody will go to one place, so your father also went there, in the sense that she didn't want to blatantly, bluntly state what happened with his father to Bharata, because Bharata would not be able to handle it if she directly said he died like that. So there are two ways of explaining the same thing, but acharyas have said it in two ways. So I'm also presenting two ways. But the more commonly uh, said way is like she was very, very careless in the way she said it. She just said, oh, one day or everybody has to go to one place, right? Your father also went there. That's all. Like that. So, but then when Bharat heard this, he fell down and he lamented and he almost lost consciousness. And he couldn't believe it. He just couldn't believe it. Reason is because he knew very well Dasharath did not have bad health at that time. He didn't hear of Dasharath Maharaj having some ailment. And he had not heard of Dashrath Maharaj going to some battle or something. So he was pretty shocked how this happened. So he asked, on what ailment did the king die when I was not there? And that time, and he also says, if he's not here, and that means he has already died. If he has already died, then definitely Rama is very, very fortunate in the sense that he has performed the purificatory rites by himself before I could come. Okay. And he says, okay, announce my arrival to Rama, announce my arrival to Ram, that I have come and I would like to go and see him and hear from him about what happened to father. So the first question he asked us, in what ailment he died. Was he really ailing? So this death I'm not able to understand. So then, though he didn't get any answer from Kaikeyi, he said, okay, at least tell Rama that I have come. I would like to talk to him about the death of my father. For that also, there was no response. So then he again asked one more question. He asked, okay, what instruction did father give me while departing? It appears that he died. I don't know why he died. He was not ailing. And it appears that if he has died, somebody has performed his antim kriya. That is also over. Let me talk to Ram. But then I still have a question. He should have left some instruction for me, right, mother? What is the instruction he left for me while departing? So for that, Kaikeyi says, now she says, when he was departing to the other world, at that time, what did he say? He just said, Oh Rama, oh Sita, oh Lakshmana, and he died. That's all. So, and once she said that, she also said, what is the use of his calling, oh Rama, oh Lakshmana, oh Sita? Anyhow, only very few fortunate people will see them after many, many years. She makes that statement. So at that time, Bharata asked, what? What did you say? What do you mean by only very fortunate people may be able to see them after many years? Where did they go? Why they didn't return? What happened? So they were not there when father died. Did Ram not do the final rites for father? What really happened? So at that time, Kaikeyi says, Oh son, that Ram, he has worn these narrow pieces of bark and he has gone to the forest of Dandakaranya. And just because he went, Lakshmana and Sita also followed him. So Bharat was again confused. What do you mean he went to the forest? Who banished him to the forest? He's a prince. It's not very simple to banish princes to go into forests. That means they must have done something terrible. If a prince has to be banished, it is something very unfortunate. Even a common man can be banished. But how can a prince be banished? That means he's done something terrible, right? But Bharata again started inquiring. He says, but Rama never makes any mistakes. I have not heard of Ram making even a slightest tiny mistake. What to talk about him going to the forest? So tell me, what mistake did Ram do? And he begins to list a few mistakes that can result in one's banishment. He says, did Ram steal the wealth of some Brahmana? Has he done harm to any rich or poor virtuous man who is a follower of Dharma? Or did he long for the wife of another person? Why was my brother expelled to the forest of Dandakaranya? When these questions were asked, Kaikeyi couldn't tolerate it. She says, Narama daranam cha chakshubhyam api pashyati. What are you talking, Bharat? Ram doesn't even look at others' wives. He cannot even look up at others' wives. Narama paradaranam cha chakshubhyam api pashyati. With his eyes, how can he even see the form of another woman? Don't even talk like that. These are the words of Kaikeyi. Kaikeyi says this. What are you talking? He stole some riches of others and all that. Nothing of that kind. He saw another woman. He doesn't touch any other woman. He doesn't do all that. It was me. I asked Dhasharath for boons and he complied. By one boon, I requested Dhasharath that Ram should go to the forest for 14 years. And by the other boon, I secured this kingdom for you. So now this kingdom is yours and you can sit on this throne and I can satisfy my eyes by seeing you sitting on this wonderful throne and enjoying this kingdom. When Bharata heard this, that his father was dead, first thing, because of separation. Secondly, Ramachandra has been banished to the forest, and his mother very intelligently secured the throne for him. He was tormented with grief and he broke down terribly and he started speaking to his mother. He said, what are you talking? What is the use of this kingdom for me? You said you have secured this kingdom for me. For what? You have sent my dear brother to the forest. My father is now dead. And now you're telling I should enjoy this kingdom? This is like sprinkling salt on a wound. Imagine you have a wound and you want to, even if you put little antiseptic cream also, it burns like anything. Imagine rubbing salt on a wound. So Bharata is saying it's like rubbing salt on a wound. What kind of lady are you? You asked for such terrible boons. You've become the cause of the destruction of our entire race. In fact, the act that you have done is equivalent to killing an embryo. That is the kind of act that you have done. And I can't believe that all these years my father was embracing live charcoal. Imagine when charcoal is so hot, but even by if you touch it, that's all. Your skin will all go off. So he says that all these years my father was embracing live charcoal. And you asked Dhasharath for a promise, and my father was true to his promise, and he sent Ram to the forest. What is all this? How do you think I will live here in this palace, sending my brother to the forest? And you think I will be happy here if I take the kingdom? Do you think, first of all, you will be happy? How will you face your co-wives? How will you see the face of Kausalya? How will you see the face of Sumitra when I am ruling this kingdom? Won't they despise us? So Bharata says, Mother, according to the tradition of the Ikshvakus, it is always the elder son that gets to sit on the throne. And such a tradition has never been broken all these years. How is it that you can with great audacity, break these traditions and then send my brother to the forest? And my brother is a faultless person. He's loved by everybody in the kingdom. So he started roaring. Bharata started roaring like a lion inside a cave. And he said, you are so sinful. I don't think you will ever get residence in heaven along with your husband because you are the cause of the destruction of not only your husband, but this entire race. My brother is dwelling in the forest because of you. My father has gone to the heaven because of you. You are the most inimical woman I can ever think of. You are not my mother. You are my enemy. You're so cruel. With your conduct, you're killing people around you. And then he thinks about Mother Kausalya and he says, there is a story that once Kamadhenu, she was looking up from the heaven down to the earth. And when she saw a pair of bullock uh, toiling in the hot sun, pulling the fields, that time she had tears flowing from her eyes. These tears apparently fell down on these hands of Indra who was traveling downward. And Indra was surprised how come these fragrant teardrops are falling on me. And he looked up, and these teardrops were that of Kamadhenu. And Indra inquired from Kamadhenu why she was crying like that. And Kamadhenu told, I'm unable to bear the pain that my sons are undergoing. My sons, these pair of bullocks, they are into so much hardship. They are scorched by the sun's rays. They have become weak and they are about to faint, but they are spending all their time plowing fields. That is the reason I am weeping, O Indra. So at that time, Indra, he established this to the entire world that the greatest relationship between two souls is between that of a mother and a son. The affection between a mother and a son is the greatest, or a daughter, of course, mother and a daughter as well, is the greatest in this entire world. It's the spotless affection that we can see in this world. So I can't believe what will happen to Mother Kausalya. She has only one son, and she's such a pious, such a holy woman. And now you have made her sonless, meaning you have separated her son from her. And he says, this is terrible. You have acted in such a horrible way. I will ensure that I will bring back Ramchandra from the forest. So he goes running into the assembly and he declares in front of all the ministers. He says, I never knew about this plan. I am not a part of this. I never knew that my mother had such evil intentions. I never desired for the kingdom. My mother did not consult with me before she took boons, and I was not aware of my coronation. Whatever happened is something that was done without my permission or without telling me. I am not involved in this. When I was in a distant land along with my brother Shatrughna, all these things have happened, and my father is now dead. So he goes and he screams out in the assembly. He calls all the ministers and he tells, I am innocent. I have nothing to do with this. He says, I was not aware of the banishment of Rama to the forest. And because of me, now Rama, Sita, Lakshman, all of them have gone to the forest. This is terrible. I don't know why my mother behaved like this. So he goes and he screams out like this to everybody. He calls on to everybody, tries to explain to them that I have nothing to do with this. And recognizing the voice of Bharata as Bharat is speaking like this in the assembly, Kausalya could understand Bharat is actually back from his uncle's house. So Kausalya tells Sumitra, I want to see that far-sighted Bharata. That means it's actually a little sarcastic. She's telling this Bharat had a great plan. He had seen into the future that he has to be sitting on the throne, and he has executed the plan very nicely. Initially, when Kausalya had doubted Bharata. So she says, I want to see that far-sighted Bharata, bring him here. So at that time, when he hears from a messenger that Mother Kausalya wants to have your audience, at that time, Bharata and Shatrughna, they go very hastily, they proceed towards Kausalya's palace. And at that time, Kausalya was so much in sorrow. So she saw Bharata coming and she started speaking to Bharat. She said, see, you have a desire for kingdom, you got the kingdom. But because of the cruel deed of your mother, see what happened to my son. He's gone to the forest. So she says that and she starts weeping profusely. And the minute Bharat heard these words from Kausalya, he was so perturbed. He felt like as if a needle was thrust into his open wound. Sometime back, he was feeling like salt was being rubbed. Now he feels like there was a needle that had gone into his wound. And he begins to explain to Kausalya. He says, "Don't reproach me like this. Don't talk such words to me like this. I am sinless. I have nothing to do with this. I was not involved in this. I don't know anything. Kaikeyi did not consult with me. I have no desire for this kingdom. I have so much affection for Rama. How will I ever think that Rama should go to the forest?" And then Bharata, he begins describing 46 different sins. Now, if we go through these 46 sins, I can say for myself, I'm doing many of them, many of them. Okay, so I'm not going to list all the 46, but anybody who wants to read the 46 can read and get scared. I don't know. It's your choice, but I'm just going to say a few, which is more grave. Like, for example, kicking a sleeping cow, a master incurring heavy labor on his subjects without remuneration, acting against a righteous king, a king who doesn't protect his subjects, a person who destroys the subtle meaning of scriptures. This is also very important. One who divulges confidential secrets of others, one who commits suicide, one who eats without sharing, one who doesn't take care of children after marriage, one who flees away from the battlefield, one who betrays a friend, one who doesn't show obedience to superiors. Like that, there is a list of 46 different sins. Okay, I just mentioned a few, but there are many. So 46 different sins. Now, Bharata, he mentions all these 46 different sins and he says, let me go to that particular hell which is destined for each of these 46 sins. If at all I conspired with Mother Kaikeyi to send Rama to the forest. So, like that, he says, let all those sins come on me. Let me go to hell and suffer for all these sins, 46 different sins. I swear that I was not involved in this conspiracy. This has nothing to do with me. And he fell down and he started crying. And he said that my only aim in life is actually to please Rama. I have no other aim in life. There is no way that I would actually do any of these different. I mean, I would be responsible for sending Rama to the forest. So at that time, Kausalya, she could understand the heart of Bharata. And she said, Bharata, I understand your heart. I understand how important Rama is for you. And she embraces him and she takes him to her lap and she weeps aloud. And she shares her grief with Bharata. And she feels very bad for doubting Bharata at this point in time. And she gives blessings to Bharata and she says, you can, I mean, I understand your heart. I know you will not do anything for Ram, to harm Ram. So now, after all this was over, they gather themselves, Bharata and Lakshman, they gather themselves and they proceed. And the ministers, they come to Bharat and Vasishta also comes and begins to talk to them. So Vasishta says, it's a long time since you came now. It's high time you perform the final rites of the king because his body is being preserved in oil. Final rites are not yet performed. So now he understands final rites are not yet performed because obviously Ram went to the forest immediately. So, and only after Ram went to the forest, Dasharatha died, right? So Bharata understands, and hearing these words of Vasishta, he immediately prostrated in front of Vasishta and he agreed to proceed with all the arrangements for the final rites. As far as Valmiki Ramayana goes, Bharata does the final rites. There are many retellings of other Ramayana that do not agree with this fact, but Valmiki says Bharata did the final rites. Okay. Why many other retellings do not accept that fact is because at one point in time, Dasharath actually says to Kaikeyi, you are no more my wife, and Bharat doesn't have to do my final rites. He makes the statement. So in many other, in Valmiki Ramayana also he makes the statement. But then some other Ramayans do not accept that Bharat did the final rites. They say, some say Shatrughna did. So like that, there are some differences of opinion. But as far as Valmiki is concerned, Bharat and Shatrughna together, they go and they continue to perform the rites. That's how it is described. So yeah, he proceeds on to do the final rites. First, they raise the body of Dasharath from the vessel, oiled vessel, and they put his body on the couch. And then Bharat, he begins to speak, looking at the body of his father. He begins to speak. He says, "O king, why did you send Ram to the forest in my absence? You forgot about the welfare of the citizens of Ayodhya. Why did you leave Ram to suffer in the forest? And why did you leave this world? And this earth doesn't look charming without your presence. It's like the night without the moon. So we are in deep separation from you." So, like that, he's talking to his father. And at that time, Vasishta, he reminds him that the funeral rites have to get started. And they prepared a funeral chamber outside. They kindled a fire and they got everything ready. And all these different ingredients were there. These are all details. I'm going to go through it very quickly because it goes on for chapters. So it's important to do some justice. So I'm just going through some details. So some different kinds of wood like sandalwood and garlands, fragrant substances, all these were brought. And they were Brahmanas who were singing from the Samaveda, they were chanting hymns, and all the women were tormented with grief. And the final rites were done. They circumambulated Dasharat anti-clockwise, and then finally the fire was lit. So, like this, for 10 days, these different proceedings, like everybody knows how it goes on for 13 days, right? So for the first 10 days, everything went on, and on all the 10 days, they were sleeping on the floor. And then eventually, the 12th and the 13th day rituals also took place, and everything was over. And they collected the ashes, all that was done. Bharata and Shatrughna, they lamented very, very profusely. And Shatrughna could actually sense how Bharat was very, very inclined to go to the forest and bring back Ram at the end of the 13th day. So he could understand the heart of his brother and he began to speak. Now, Shatrughna was in a very angry mood at this time. So, Bharat was somewhat composed all the time. Yes, he was a little angry with his mother, but then he moved on, his anger moved on. But then now Shatrughna was very angry and he was thinking, what is all this? Why did all this happen? My so called brother, Lakshman, he couldn't do anything. He calls himself to be a very angry young man, and he takes people to justice immediately. What was he doing there? He is such a strong and powerful man. Even he could not rescue Ram from distress. He couldn't restrain our father from doing such a grave act. Lakshman should have done something in the beginning itself. So, like this, when Shatrughna was telling Bharat all this, at that time, suddenly some guards they brought this Mantara, who had actually come that day to the assembly. She had actually come to see, what really is happening because she was waiting for this occasion. She knew that once Bharat is back, Bharat will take over the kingdom. She was thinking like that because it was all her plan, right? It was her plan to get Bharat seated on the throne. So she was thinking that I am the mastermind, I am the kingmaker, and now here I am. So she had decorated herself with a lot of ornaments. And the commentators say, where did she get all these ornaments, Mantara, that day? She got all the ornaments because as soon as her Kaikeyi's plan worked out, Kaikeyi had promised earlier, right? I will put a golden garland around your hunchback. I will present you with jewels. She had promised all this. So all these promises were fulfilled immediately. So on this particular day, when she had heard the news that Bharat had already come and all the 13-day rituals are done, she knew it would be the time for the coronation. So she was very excited and she appeared there at the entrance with fully decorated top to bottom with a lot of jewels. She had anointed herself with a lot of sandalwood scent, and she was wearing silken garments, and we'll think she looked very, very beautiful, right? But then Valmiki doesn't say she looked very beautiful. Valmiki says she looked like a female monkey tied with ropes. That means when you go, in India, some years back, now it's not we don't see it anywhere. But many years back, there would be these people um, who, what happened? Okay, sorry. There would be these people who would bring monkeys to the villages, and the monkey would dance, right? The monkey would be decorated very nicely, and they would tie a rope to the monkey's neck or the belly, and the monkey would dance and entertain the people, and the people go and drop coins. We have seen this in old India, olden times, maybe even 25, 30 years back, 20 years back when we were kids. Uh, at that time, these they are called as people who make monkeys dance. So she was looking like that monkey. That's what Valmiki says. She was not looking pretty. She was looking like a monkey that comes and dances in front of people. She looked like a female monkey tied with ropes. So when she came there, immediately the guards, see, the people in Ayodhya, everybody knew what really transpired, right? So when they saw this manthara coming like this, the gods were so angry. Not only were the immediate relatives angry, even the citizens of Ayodhya were so angry and irritated. So the guards, the minute they saw her, they caught hold of her, and they thought the best person to punish her is not Bharat, but it is Shatrughna. Because Shatrughna is the one who's angry like his twin brother Lakshman. So they thought the best person to take her to task is Shatrughna, and they come and they present her to Shatrughna. And when Shatrughna saw her, he gets so angry. He starts pulling her and dragging her. She falls on the ground, and he drags her all the way on the ground to take her to task. And she is shouting and shrieking, and he's not letting her go. And his eyes were so red, and he was just dragging her, and all the ornaments were falling off from her body, and it was scattered everywhere. And he was rebuking, he was pulling her, physically tormenting her like that. At the same time, he was passing rebuking statements towards Kaikeyi. He was scolding Kaikeyi in various ways. Seeing this activity of Shatrughna, how he was treating a woman, he was pulling manthara like that on the ground, and he was also using, bad language and scolding Kaikeyi. Seeing all this, Bharat, he got very upset. He stopped Shatrughna and he said, among all living beings, women are not to be killed. Don't do this to her. She has to be treated properly, and she has to be pardoned. And he says, if Ramachandra um, were, if Rama is going to be happy that I have killed my mother, I would have done it a long time back. But you think Ram will be happy if we do such activities with Mantara or with Kaikeyi? Ram will never ever be happy. Actually, when Shatrughna was pulling this mantra and he was scolding Kaikeyi, Kaikeyi got scared. There is a verse that says Kaikeyi got so scared looking at Shatrughna, she goes and she hides behind Bharata. So she goes and hides behind Bharat, thinking that next it'll be her turn. So she goes and hides behind him, and then he stops Shatrughna and he says, don't do this to anybody. And if first and foremost thing why you should not do is because Ramchandra will not be happy. It will not be pleasing to his heart. This is such a beautiful point. Bharata is so sensitive. Such a beautiful point. Actually, just a small reflection. Every single living entity is very dear to the Lord, right? Sometimes we have, I like this person, I don't like this person. I want to really punish this person. If I get that person in my hand, I'll beat this person up. So we have all these different thoughts. But 1 second, if we think, how will Krishna feel? If we just pause for 1 minute and think, how will Krishna feel? Then we'll feel ashamed of ourselves. Oh, why did I think like that? Same thing was happening with Shatrughna and Bharata. Bharata was telling, just imagine, just think for 1 minute. Will Rama like it? Just think about it. Same thing we are also taught in Krishna consciousness that when two devotees are fighting, one devotee comes and tells, do you think your Guru Maharaj will like it? And then this devotee stops, right? Like that. So Bharat says, no, don't do that. That's not our nature. We should not do this. And he says, if at all Ramachandra hears that Mantara is being killed by either of us, Ramachandra will stop talking to us. Do we want that? So Shatrughna immediately he stops and he releases Mantara. And Mantra goes and she's released at the feet of Kaikeyi. So Mantra goes and falls at the feet of Kaikeyi and she's weeping profusely. And Kaikeyi was trying to console her. And Shatrughna, uh, he feels actually this statement is not directly there in the verses of Valmiki Ramayana today, but there is a comment by some acharyas that this is what actually transpired as a conversation between Bharata and Shatrughna. Shatrughna, he felt like, okay, why did you stop me from punishing her? Isn't she the cause of whatever happened? She has to be punished. Even if she is a woman, she has to be punished. This is Shatrughna's thought process. And for that, Bharata says, why do you think Manthara should be blamed? This is not there as the verses in Ramayana, but it is mentioned that most of the acharyas have commented and elaborately discussed about this conversation. So I'm giving out the conversation, what it is. So Shatrughna asked, Manthara has to be blamed for whatever has happened. But Bharata says, no, Manthara is not at fault. Actually, Mantra did the right thing. Why did Mantra do the right thing? Mantra did the right thing because her business was only to please her master. Her master was Kaikeyi, right? She did the best for Kaikeyi. In Kaikeyi's best interest, she acted. She acted in a way that Kaikeyi would feel happy. Kaikeyi would get her way. Kaikeyi's son would sit on the throne. So the best interest of her master was in her heart. So she didn't do anything wrong. Then is Kaikeyi to be blamed? The answer is no. Kaikeyi cannot be blamed because the nature of a mother, as much as Kausalya's nature is to think about the welfare of her son Ram, Kaikeyi's nature is to think of her welfare of her son Bharat. So she did not do anything wrong. Then is Dasharath to be blamed? Dasharath cannot be blamed. Why Dasharath cannot be blamed? Because Dasharath had to comply by his word. He had given his word, so he had to keep up his word. So Dasharath cannot be blamed. Then Ramachandra himself has to be blamed because who asked him to go to the forest? He's God. Ask him to stay back. Why did he have to go and why did everyone have to get so upset? But then Bharata says no, Rama cannot be blamed because Rama had to listen to the word of his father. That is the biggest dharma that he had to follow. And finally, Bharata says, none of them can be blamed, but everything is my fault. Of course, we all know Bharata should never be blamed, but he says for himself. That's the nature of a devotee again. So Bharata says, everything is my fault. Only because I was born, only because I exist, all this problem is there. If I didn't exist, if I was not born, then such a situation would never happen, right? So he was ready to take all blame on himself. This is the nature of Bharata, representing a devotee of the Lord. Actually, nobody likes blame. They say this when there's a saying that when you go and step on thorn, we say the thorn pricked me, right? Don't we say that? Secondly, I've heard this as a joke too. We all have so many clothes, and with time we put on weight, and we say the dress became small. Right? Who is to be blamed? That dress. Who is to be blamed? That thorn. Did the thorn come all the way into your house and search you and then come and prick you on your leg? No, you went and stamped on the thorn, and the thorn just stood. It didn't even do anything. It just went, because you went and stepped on it, it went into your leg. So it's not thorn's fault, it's your fault. Same thing, it's not the dress's fault. I became fat, so the dress became small. But the nature of this world is we like to throw blame. We can't take blame. We can't take blame gracefully. It's never possible. Even the smallest thing, we say it's all because of you. Anyway, even if we don't verbally say it, that's what we mean. That's what we think. We are always trying to put blame on someone and we like to satisfy our ego. But here is Bharata. Rajya Bharnat iti Bharata is one way of understanding the name of Bharata. But did he really have the Rajya Bharam on his head? No, it was Paduka who ruled. So, what is the Bhara or what is the weight that he carried? The weight that he carried is the weight of blame. Because you see, it will be a trend now. Everybody will be ready to blame Bharat, or everybody will be suspecting Bharat. Even just now, Kausalya finished her round of suspicion. Next onwards, everybody, whomever he goes, everybody will think Bharata is come here to kill Ram. That is the nature, he had to take blame everywhere. So that is the big weight that was carried by Bharata. Okay, anyway, Bharata, now he gives instructions. It was already the 14th day, 14th day since our Dashrath Maharaj had passed away. On the 14th day morning, Vasishta, he had come, and the ministers had also assembled with Vasishta. And Vasishta came and said, okay, all the rites are over. It's time for you to take over the kingdom. We cannot let this kingdom stay without a king. But then Bharata, at this point in time, again, he says very clearly, I already mentioned that I will not get coronated. Rather, I will go to the forest and I will live for 14 years and I will send Ram here. I will take all that is needed to coronate Ram. Ram will go to the forest, immediately will coronate Ram, and we will send Ram to the kingdom, and I will stay in the forest, and I will not let Kaikeyi's desires be fulfilled. So he says that, and he says, I will not get coronated. Meanwhile, what he does is that day itself, he could give some instructions to the people there. He calls some workers and he gives all of them instructions. He tells that a grand pathway should be constructed to go to the forest. And all the people who heard these instructions were very delighted because they were also waiting for that. They really wanted to bring back Ram to the forest. So there was a big council that was arranged, and a lot of engineers were called, and they were asked to build a comfortable pathway leading from Ayodhya all the way to the place of where Ganges was, flowing, because he had heard that Ramchandra had gone that way. And he told these workers or these engineers and these laborers that the entire pathway should be constructed perfectly in different places. Drinking water should be kept. There should be wells. There should be sitting places. There should be gardens. There should be nice shrubs on either side. There should be bridges. Very, very easy, comfortable trading way should first be constructed. That is the first instruction. Why is he thinking about giving this instruction? He could have just gone, right? Ramchandra went. He went to the forest in a chariot. What's the difficulty for Bharata to go like that to the forest? Why should he give instructions for constructing a grand pathway and all that? The reasons are many. The first reason is his plan was to take a big army of people. Why should he take a huge army of people if he's just going to go and invite Ram to come back? Right? The answer is because he wanted to invite Ram with all the felicitation that is done for a king, an entire army to go and welcome Ram and welcome the king back into Ayodhya. That is number one. So that is one of the key reasons why he wanted to construct a grand bridge, because it was a grand pathways, because it was a welcome for the king to come back and rule over Ayodhya. Secondly, he was thinking of a huge army, I mentioned, right? Now, if tens and thousands of people are going to march and go forward for a few days, then all their basic needs should be met, correct? They should have water at the right places. They should have restrooms. They should have food. They should have ornaments. They should have, sunglasses or hats or whatever. Whatever you can imagine, all those requirements are there. So what did he do? He said everything should be constructed, and all the people, in fact, you will see when they went, they go along with merchants, they go along with fruit sellers, they go along with everybody for whatever requirement a person may have, because we are talking about large numbers of people. Recently, it was very unfortunate that in India, in Chennai, I heard this from my mother that there was a air show that was conducted, and they had expected lakhs and lakhs of people to come, and they didn't have enough water facilities. So what happened? Many people died. Many people were hospitalized because of dehydration. You can imagine the Chennai heat, how horrible it is. And nothing was planned for all these people. But look at the kind of planning that was done by Bharat at the time of performing the Shraddha ceremony. 13 days is so intense for him. He's performing all that. At the same time, something is running in his mind. I must go and I must bring my brother back. And I should bring him with all the respects due to a king. And not only that, I should ensure that every single citizen is comfortable. Nobody should be suffering all those days. We are talking about hundreds and thousands of people, so much crowd. Every single need of that person should be taken care of. He's thinking from so many angles. So there's so much to learn from our scriptures, and today we don't apply anything. Very unfortunate. So anyway, so these engineers, they constructed a very, very comfortable highway from Ayodhya to the river Ganga. They cleared off shrubs and stones on the way. They had dug wells for water. Beautiful tents were built along the path for shelter from the sun. All this was taken care of. Okay, so construction had started. Now, meanwhile, the next day morning, again, Vasishta had not given up. Okay, Vasishta still wanted Bharata to take over the throne and rule. So the next day morning, what happened? Near Bharata's residence, lots of drums and instruments were sounded to wake up Bharata as if he's the next king. Now Bharata got very upset. He got up in the morning and he started shouting, "Hey, I'm not the king. Stop all this. Stop all this noise." And he tells Shatrughna, "Please ask them to stop. I am not the king. I don't want to be the king." And then Vasishta came and invited him to the assembly. And then Vasishta said that we have to, crown you as the king. So Vasishta, he asks Brahmanas, Vaishya, Kshatriya, Shudras, people from all Varnas to come. And then he calls Bharata, Shatrughna, he even calls Yudhajit to come, he calls Sumantra to come. He asks everybody to come, and in front of everybody, he starts requesting Bharata, Bharata, the kingdom is yours, you have to now take up this kingdom, you have to enjoy this kingdom, and the kingdom without a king is no use. So you have all these different ministers, you please sit on the throne immediately. Again, Vasishta tried. Though Bharata had already given instructions to construct a pathway. Of course, Bharata had done that, but still Vasishta was trying from his side. And then at this time, Bharata, he says, a very, very beautiful statement. He says, "What are you telling? If I take this kingdom, it is like stealing. Is this not stealing? It doesn't belong to me. I am Dasharat's son. How can I behave in a way that I steal away somebody else's kingdom? Rajam cha aham cha Ramasya. The kingdom is Rama, and the kingdom is Rama's. I am also Rama's. As much as the kingdom belongs to Ram, I also belong to Ram. I am Ram's property, the kingdom is Ram's property. How can one property take care of another property?" So imagine, we are telling, "Oh, hey, you computer, you take care of the chair. Chair, you take care of that door. Door, you take care of that lock." Is it possible? So Bharata is telling, "I am the property of Rama. The kingdom is the property of Ram. If I am taking away the property of Ram, which is the kingdom, it is stealing." Number one. Second, how can you tell that one property will take care of another property? It is not possible. The master should take care of both properties. So he says, "Raja cha aham cha Ramasya." Rajyam cha aham cha Ramasya. They say both of this belongs to Rama. Now one may argue, think about a jewel box, okay? The jewels inside are protected by the jewel box. So one property is taking care of another property. This is one argument one person can throw. But then truly the jewel box is not the protector of the jewels. It is the owner who is protecting the jewels by putting it in a jewel box. Ultimately, the owner is the protector. So that argument is also defeated by our acharyas in their commentaries. They write all this. So, but anyhow, Bharata, he very clearly says, "I am the property of Ram and I will not enjoy this kingdom. If I have to take this kingdom, then it is like doing a terrible theft." And he says in the Sabha in front of everybody to Vasishta, "Vasishta, shouldn't you be telling me this? You are the elderly person, you are the sage, you are the Raja Rishi. You should be giving me this advice. Instead, you're doing something contrary. So he corrects even Vasishta in front of everybody. And he claims, he tells in front of everybody, he declares, sorry, he says, I will bring back Ram from the forest or I will stay with him itself. Okay. So Bharata then tells Vasishta, I already gave instructions to men to build a pathway all the way to the forest. And in the past few days, the construction work has already begun. And he says, all of you join me. All of us can go and bring him back. So on the Shukla Paksha Ekadashi Tithi, time is going by. We have to trace the time also. They leave on the Shukla Paksha Ekadashi Tithi. He requests Sumantra to confirm if all the arrangements are ready. He asks Sumantra to bring his chariot. He asks an entire army to come there. There are 9,000 elephants, 60,000 chariots. I think this is almost like 10,000 or 100,000 soldiers. The three mothers headed by repentant Kaikeyi. So Kausalya, Sumitra, and Kaikeyi. Kaikeyi walks in the front with a repentant heart. Her heart has changed since she heard the words of her son. And about 10,000 Brahmanas. There were many merchants and craftsmen, people who are weaving baskets, people who are making jewelry, everything that is needed for the journey. All that was set. Okay. And while they all started marching like this, imagine 60,000 chariot and 1,000 soldiers, so many people are going. So while they were all walking like this, what is their meditation? Like when we walk towards the Lord, when we walk towards the Dham, our meditation is about the Lord, right? So like that, all the people, they were meditating in their heart. Meghashyamam Mahabahum Sthira Sattvam Dhrida Vratam Kada Drashyamahe Ramam Jagata Shoka Nashanam. They are thinking, Kada Drashyamahe Rama. When will we go and see Rama? And who is this Rama? He is Megha he has the color of a dense black cloud. Mahabahum, he's the great protector. Sthira Sattvam Dhridavratam. He is Dhridavrata. What is the Dhridavrata that the Lord has taken? He will always award protection to his devotees. So that is the Dhridavrata that the Lord has taken. So he's the Supreme Lord. He's the one who can remove the shoka, the lamentation of the entire Jagat. Ramam Jagatah Shokanashanam. He can remove the lamentation of the entire world. So the entire Ayodhya started marching towards the forest through the roads that were constructed diligently under the supervision of Bharata with a fixed purpose. What is the fixed purpose? For them to bring back Ram. So they were thinking only by seeing Ram, all the illusion can be dispelled. Thinking like that, they proceed further. The Acharyas also mentioned at this point itself, Bharata had clad himself in bark. Because he was thinking, if my brother there is wearing bark and living like a forestier, then even I will also go like that. So he had applied latex and he had clad himself in bark and he was ready to go. So the next day morning, they all left, all these people, they all left. And finally, they march towards this place. They cover a long distance and they arrive at the banks of the river Ganga at Shringiberapuram that is ruled by Guha. And they camp there that night. Guha has not seen them yet. They camp there so that they can give rest to all the people and they can also continue to perform the rites. See, this rites, no, it has to be continuously performed. After the 13th day, today what? Today, every day, this age and time, it's different. But they continue to perform. They took some breaks in the next day. And they continued, morning also they have to remember the ancestors, some rituals are there. So they would offer all this and they stayed on the bank of the river Ganges to give rest. Okay, so that is where we will stop today and we will continue in our next session. Hare Krishna. Questions?
Hare Krishna.
Dandavat pranams. Thank you. Thank you for the very nice session. So, Mataji, I have two questions. One is, does Valmiki mentions about that Dashrath shot an arrow to a person was Shravan Kumar?
No,
No.
I don't see the name. Yeah.
So nowhere it's been mentioned.
No.
And second question is that why Bharata took a longer route while coming from Kaikai Desh?
He actually, there were many places that belonged to him. It is mentioned in the commentary, so he wanted to stay there and be with the people there, and then come, give his association like that.
But there was no as such reason, because
No,
one hand he was also thinking that I should.
worried. He was also worried, but then he also had to stay back and give his association to some people in certain villages, and then come that route. It was some of the places that were gifted to him.
Mhm.
It was like that. Yeah. Choice.
Thank you, Mataji. Very nice session, and the way you covered each and every detail, so wonderful, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, Akshay Prabhu, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mati, Dandavat pranams. Today's this Ayodhya Kashi Yatra lecture, His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrit Swami Maharaj shared that Kakai also lamented, and is it like true? She
Yeah.
felt bad as well, like that's what he
Yeah.
said.
Yes, yes. So she had a change of heart and she also marched in the front. That's how it's written. Yeah. Because of what had happened, because she was pretty much enlightened by her son. So, yeah, that's right. But no big description, maybe. Valmiki Ramayana is very concise. So, no major descriptions of her lamentation and all that. But then, with a change of heart, she walks in the front. That's what the verse is. Okay. Yeah.
Anybody has any questions?
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. I hope you all are able to unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna Mataji, can I ask one question?
Go ahead, man.
First of all, thank you very much for again a very, very wonderful session. Mataji, I have this question that on one hand, it is said that Kaikai, at least from what the version I know, that Kaikai loved Lord Ram, and in the Valmiki Ramayana, she is not portrayed, or she's not, portrayed as a very illustrious woman. She's that like she's like portrayed as a very quarrelsome and headstrong, beautiful kind of a woman. So how is it? I mean, it's like two contradictory things. On one hand, she is very headstrong and kind of not so good a woman, and at the same time, she also happens to be the king's favorite, which is again very contradictory. And she also loved Lord Ram. So how do we look at it? I mean, is there anything you know you can?
Human nature, right? So when we see children, we don't show hate towards children. We like children. Even if I am the worst lady, okay, imagine I am the worst woman in the world. I'm very selfish and I don't care about others' needs. I'm just worried about myself all the time. When I see children, I'm like, yeah, this is a sweet kid. And then I'm playing with the child and I'm showing affection. But when it comes to my needs, I'm very selfish.
Hmm.
Why would I, give equal affection to my co-wives, right? I will put them down. I will fight with them. I will see that my desires are satisfied. I am, after all, self-centered. And why am I the favorite of the king? I mean, like, because the king is attracted to certain aspects of his wife. The king is attracted to beauty. The king is attracted to some special bonding that you see, many times kings are very, the way their favorite wives will be the youngest wife, the prettiest wife, the wife who can display the most opulence. Natural. It's natural.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody, what we try to do is there's no black and white. Everybody is gray in this world.
Yeah, because there are many retellings. I mean, I don't know. Of course, I'm not an authority. But there are many retellings where there are, that all the wives got along very well with each other. And Ayodhya was a place where there was no sorrow, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah.
There are such versions. So, that's why I wanted to clarify on this.
Yeah, that's a lie. I think Valmiki is very blunt on.
Yeah, even I found that he's very blunt on what I mean, it is very bluntly said, and whereas we hear many other versions where it is not so blunt and it's very goody goody.
Goody
Yeah,
goody. Yeah, it's not
yeah,
like that.
yeah. Okay. So
From the beginning, he's been telling the same thing. Oh, she was one of a kind. You see Kausalya all the time. She's like, oh, Kaikeyi, we'll do this, Kaikeyi, we'll do that. Even Ramchandra says that in so many places.
exactly, that is what I mean. I heard this for the first time. Honestly, like you don't find these things are kind of deleted from the later versions of the Ramayana. I
Please,
believe.
this is okay. Later in Aranyakand, you will be shocked. Ram will say, when Viradha, he's a demon, he takes away Sita.
Mm.
That time, Ram, he makes a statement. Today, Kaikeyi will be very happy, he says.
Oh God.
So you will see reality. You will see so many real
Yeah,
things.
because
Human like
Valmiki Ramayana is actually the original Ramayana, so you cannot kind of challenge that. But yeah,
that's why sometimes we try to when we say God, we want him to fit into our purview of what is
yes,
perfect.
yes,
Right? God means he should have all the perfect. Yes, he has. In our moral purview, we are trying to fit him into it. That is
yes,
not doesn't work like that. God is
yes,
God.
yes. But we do that. That is true.
Yes, he doesn't have, like, Krishna doesn't have to be truthful. And only because he's not truthful, he's God. He doesn't have to be, only because he steals, he's God. It's
Yeah.
only because he lies, he's God. He does only
Yes.
because he has 16,108 wives, he's God. Why
Hmm.
should he be that ideal moral value kind of a person that we are trying to fit him into?
Yes,
No,
but you
he's
know what?
God.
I'd heard this one thing from Amarendra Prabhu, I believe,
Hmm.
that he says that even though you say that he's a thief, how can you even call him a thief? Because there's nothing that does not belong
Does
to
not belong to him. It's there.
exactly.
It's there in the Bhagavatam. Sukadev Goswami says that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And the same thing, Sukadev Goswami also says, who is not the Supreme Lord's wife? What are you talking about others' wives? Even you are the wife of the
Yes.
Lord. The husband himself is the wife of the Lord.
Yes.
Right? Everything belongs to him.
Yes. There are other acharyas, of course, I won't name because it will create something. But they don't accept the Parkiyaras, not that because that I know this because they kind of feel that the society will not accept it even if it's true, and secondly they don't accept the other acharyas. I mean, not Chaitanya, not our Mahaprabhu. There are other acharyas who say that their gopis were married to Krishna, so what is Parkiya? That's what they argue. I'm just saying it. I'm not like
So it again, see Srila Jiva Goswami, for example.
hmm.
Based on time, place, and circumstance, he did not talk much about Parakeras.
Yeah, I know.
It's needed, like
Yes.
as an acharya may take a
Acharya, yes. Even though
and
if they internally accept, they will not accept it externally.
they will accept. Only thing is, they say, why do you think that far? See,
Mm.
it's a way of preaching to people who are not ready to accept certain
Yeah,
things,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So their answer is, so what? That's how they're trying to preach.
Yes.
Yeah, like, yeah, so what? Ultimately, everybody is married to Krishna. Ultimately, the gopis are also, in one sense, united with Krishna. They married to Krishna. Brahma Vimohan Leela happened. During that time, they got nothing wrong in what they're saying also. They want to focus more on that aspect. They don't want you to delve on Parakya because you're not ready for Parakya. That's
Yes.
all.
Yes. You're
But they're
right.
not, again, whatever they are saying is absolute. There's nothing wrong in that. Gopis were married, no?
Yes, that is true. They were. That is true. That is true. So yeah, that is so nice.
We don't worry about the marriage. We are more interested in that.
Yes. Yes, that is true. That is true. We are interested in, whatever acharyas say. That is true. So nice, Mataji. Again, a very, very interesting class, and it's very enlightening. So thank you so much again. Hare Krishna. Danvat pranam, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Okay, Kirtana Mataji, shall we end?
Yes, Mataji, if there are no questions.
Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय
Vilasini Mataji ki jai.
Jai. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you very
Hare
much.
Krishna. Thank you,
Hare Krishna,
Mataji.
Mataji. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna, Mataji.
Okay, dear devotees, next Monday we will resume session. I'm